Welcome to the Road to Redemption Podcast. Welcome to the Road to Redemption Podcast. What is up, you guys, and welcome back to the Road to Redemption Podcast. Hey, how in the heck are you? At least today I called my own podcast by the right name. Last episode I called it the Ride and Vibe Podcast, which is the other podcast, the old one, because I'm a dumbass. Today we're going to talk about triggers, what they can do for your life, what are they, and how do they affect us, why do they make us do the dumb shit that we do as human beings. But as always, we're going to start this podcast by thanking our sponsors. First is Seaside Coffee Company and Seabag Locker Coffee. Guys, great coffee. Hands down the best coffee you ever have. If you don't know, you better ask somebody, and you just did, and I'm telling you, it's the best coffee you ever have. The coffee company is split up into two separate companies. So you've got Don, the husband, who runs the Seabag Locker Coffee. I call him the Don because, you know, the Don, the Godfather. And then you got Penny, who runs Seaside Coffee. Just amazing quality and quantity, honestly. You'll get the best bang for your buck because you get a pound of coffee. For, you know, the price is just unreal. So guys, go check out Seaside Coffee Company and Seabag Locker Coffee Company. Again, ran by the same family, just kind of branched off into two different styles. Both are amazing. Ambition Thread Company, where through faith, hard work, and perseverance makes a motivational lifestyle brand. And you guys have seen the clothes on the Instagram. You know they're swaggy as hell. The quality is untouched. Amazing. Tyler, my buddy, is a great dude. He has all my support in the world, and I want to do everything I can to help take this brand to the next level. So guys, go check out at Ambition Threads Co. Then we got Halo Top Creamery. They don't need a whole big introduction. You guys know them. You love them. They're delicious. I always say it's the guilt of having ice cream without all the calories. So I'm pinning that one as my trademark for Halo Top Creamery. If they want, they can use the hell out of it. And then we got Alpha Elite Performance, guys. Alpha Elite Performance is a supplement company ran by Green Berets. And guys, they know their stuff. I use a ton of their supplements, and it is unreal, the results. Go check out at Alpha Elite Performance. You will not be sorry. Okay, that's it for the reads. That's our sponsors. Go check them out. Go show them some love. Show them what this the Podcast Nation does to show their love. Guys, triggers. Let's talk about triggers and what they mean. What the heck are they? How do they affect our lives? We all have them. Even if you don't suffer from like anxiety, depression, PTSD, alcoholism, any of the amazing fun things that I deal with, you definitely still have triggers in your life. You have, every person listening to this has things that have happened to them that has instilled an internal trigger, and you still deal with those every single day. You may not deal with them every day. Why did I choose this topic? Let's talk about that. So, obviously, shocker, one of my many demons that I battle is alcohol dependency. Even though I haven't done it in 2 years, almost, October will be 2 years of sobriety, I love to drink. I love to drink alcohol. Just the thought of sitting at a bar, having a beer, talking nonsense with a group of people, it was fun for me. It was a lot of fun, and I'm not going to act like it wasn't. And when I walked through Kroger's today, if you guys don't know what a Kroger is, whatever your local grocery store is, I'm sure they have like a ready-serve type buffet thing there. They were making fried mozzarella sticks, and I smelled them, and that was a trigger for me. When I smelled the mozzarella sticks, I thought of sitting at a bar, drinking, carrying on, watching football, having a good time. It was a good smell to me, and it brought back fond memories of why, made me want to grab a beer and sit back and relax. And then I immediately remembered, I was like, wow, I realized that it's not the alcohol that I enjoyed. It was the fun time that I had while I was drinking the alcohol. I was so carefree, and I was so, whatever, but that was a trigger for me. I immediately thought, well, hey, I'm here at the store, grab me a 12-pack and hang out at the house, and I can have that enjoyable time again. But that's obviously something I don't do anymore. But it's just weird the way that one simple smell can cause your mind to snowball so quickly. I thought it was so interesting. Now I can kind of laugh at it and kind of go, oh man, that's crazy. It's how quick that your brain works that way, especially if you have any kind of dependency issue. Your brain will definitely work super quick to try to get you back into that. But guys, it's not just with alcoholism. I have triggers with like my anger. With my anger, I'm triggered very easily. Now I don't have like I tell everyone I have what's called an exquisite temper. So you really don't see me get angry much. It really takes a lot to set me off, but when I do, I go off the rails. And my anger is usually set off by a few triggers. My biggest one that I deal with, honestly, is people who are genuinely rude to other people. I get really frustrated by that. I get really, really frustrated when I see people being mean or rude to wait staff, to the person who's bagging up their groceries at the grocery store. If people are just being malicious to another person, I get pretty upset about that one. And why is that? Let's talk about why that is. I heard an interesting statement made the other day that our biggest pet peeves are the things that we don't like about ourselves. And I had to kind of think about that. Why would my biggest pet peeve of seeing other people be rude to other people, how would that be something I don't like about myself? And then I looked, and yeah, I used to be a big mouth, and I'd sprout off. I would wait for anybody to say anything so I could fire back with something smart ass and an insult. And I used to not be a very good person. I was never rude to wait staff. I've worked in hospitality and restaurants since I was 15. My first job was working at Chick-fil-A when I was 15 years old, and I loved the fact that I went through that because it taught me to always be pleasant and always be polite to food staff and the people that handle your food and really anybody that works in a customer service type job. So I'm very grateful that I went through that. But I especially during my times of drinking, I was not always a pleasant person to be around. My mouth would get very large. That statement, your mouth writes checks that your ass can't cash, and that's pretty much who I was. I was a big mouth, and so it makes sense, when you hear that. But guys, I want to dig a little deeper. Enough about me. When we look at our lives, and when we all have people that set off the triggers in us. For some of us, it's our exes, especially if you're a parent and you have to deal with the ex for co-parenting things. Or for some of us, it's unfortunately, it's our spouses, it's our friends, it's our parents, it's our siblings, whatever it is in your specific situation. We all have people that are triggers for us. I know when I was drinking a lot and I was very unhealthy, a trigger of my anxiety and a trigger of my shitty attitude was when I would go back home to Columbus. Columbus, Ohio is where I'm from, and I thought that I had to be this big macho army guy when I went back home around my mother and my sister, and guys, I was just an asshole. But I realized that my anxiety would well up so much because there was sometimes I wouldn't see my mother for years, 2, 3, 4, 5 years at a time when I was gone doing whatever, and I felt like I had to be this person, right? And that was a trigger for me. My anxiety would well up so much that I would compensate by being an asshole, and that's it's so crazy to sit back and look at now. The little things that trigger us to become different parts of ourselves. So what I want to encourage you today is watch yourself in every situation, whether it be in traffic, whether it be at the grocery store, at a restaurant, in the workplace, at the gym, whatever it is you do. We go through so many emotions in a day. Let's figure out why we go through them. Sometimes it's just a song that comes on the radio. Sometimes it's something that a coworker just says in passing, and you're like, I didn't like that. I didn't care for that at all, and that person's a bitch, or, whatever. Guys, it's real. It's real. things trigger us because of things that we've gone through in our past. I know so many people in my life that if you say the wrong thing, they're going to come off the leash because of things that they've gone through in their past that the person standing in front of them has no idea about. How many times have you ever gone out to eat with somebody and they treat the wait staff like shit because the last time they were at that restaurant, the service was horrible and they expected the same thing before they even sat down? It's a trigger. You walked into the same place where last time you got really upset. The little things in life can make you act the biggest fool. So that's kind of where I want to sit at today. And guys, it's all about knowing yourself. You have to be able to sit back and look and go, man, I just flipped off the handle for nothing. Or, man, I just got a crazy urge to do this, to drink, to smoke, to act out, to run off at my mouth, to do whatever. When we look, at least for me, when we look, I don't see many things that trigger positive action. And I'm looking to rewire that now in my own brain. I read a book by Mel Robbins. It was called The 5-Second Rule. I'm pretty sure it was Mel Robbins. I'm pretty sure that it is. The 5-second rule, it's a new way to trigger your brain. So when you come up with an idea that you think is going to set your future in motion, you have 5 seconds to act. So when I had the thought of starting back up the Road to Redemption podcast, I gave myself 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I texted my buddy Tyler and said, hey, I'm starting the podcast back up. Then I was held accountable. So those are little triggers. Those thoughts are now my thoughts when I think of something creative that I want to do that I think will push my content or my brand of me, who I am, to the next level. Now I set my own trigger, and then I act, and then it holds me accountable. But our triggers are usually something that makes us act out negatively. That's what I'm talking about today. You just have to recognize that you have them. They're going to be different for every single person, and it's the hardest thing to notice because when you're triggered by something, and I know that word is thrown around a lot. Joe Rogan's last stand-up comedy special is actually called Triggered, and it's because he's talking about kind of the millennial perspective of how everything for millennials is a trigger, and now they're offended or they're whatever. They're triggered. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the things that make us act out of character. And I don't know why. My phone is blowing up. I do know why. It's because I hit record. It's because I hit record, and you guys know that's just how that works. But yeah, when you're triggered by something, you're flooded with overwhelming emotions, right? Which is why things like Facebook and social media are such a big trigger for people, because there's so many clickbait headline titles, there's so many emotionally compacted headlines, and that's what they want. They want you to be emotionally triggered, so that way you dive in and you go, well, I don't like that. I don't like that you have that point of view, and you're making my side look stupid, and that's not really how we are, and not everybody feels that way on my side, and, well, I have to go ahead and write a comment because you're triggered, right? That is kind of what Joe Rogan's stand-up comedy is talking about, but guys, it's also how we react in our everyday lives, and it grows more and more with this thing that we call social media. There are more things now set up to trigger you and trigger your interest, so that way maybe you click on that YouTube thumbnail with the shirtless fitness person or the big butt Instagram model or whatever. They're triggering into your emotional attachments, and that's kind of the things. I'm talking about social media now. I'm getting off track as always. Freaking shocker that my mind goes astray and obviously goes to social media, since that's what I spend so much of my time doing. But the triggers that we're talking about in your everyday life are going to happen, and they're going to happen, and you're not even going to notice it until you start to look for them. So when you start to notice that your spouse makes a little comment, and you're like, I'll smash your head into that damn wall. Okay, you're going to think that, and then you're going to go, well, I'm justified because he or she did this, that, this, and that. It just sets you off because I've told them 1,000 times, I don't like it when you say that, I don't like it when you imply these things, and I'll do it when I'm ready to do it. That's a trigger. You're dealing with something that's unresolved, right? Your mind is saying, I have a hard feeling about something like this. Another trigger for people is like crowds of people. It makes you socially uncomfortable. So when the room starts to fill up a little bit, it triggers your anxiety because that's something you haven't dealt with. I have a big theory in situations like that where when you're triggered by something, you need to continue to put yourself in that situation. That's the only way you can truly deal with it. So if your spouse making a comment, or maybe it's you're finally getting 5 seconds from not dealing with the kids and you don't have to do anything, and the dishes need to be done, your spouse comes in and sits down when they're supposed to be doing the dishes. You're triggered now to say something smart ass. Well, I guess I'll get it. I guess I'll get it since you're going to sit down. You're passive aggressively showing resentment towards your spouse instead of just going, hey, I don't know if you're just taking a seat for a second, but, remember you said you were going to do the dishes. And it's just small things like that, but people don't want to be in that situation because I hear it all the time from my friends that are married. They're like, well, it's easier for me to get up and do the dishes than bring it up and have to argue about it. Yeah, but you're building resentment, and you're stapling that trigger onto your heart. So every single time now your spouse sits down on the couch, you're going to feel some type of way over time, right? It may not be over 1 week, it may not be over a month, but you're building up a resentment trigger to where every time your spouse sits on the couch, you're like, this son of a, and that's not a good thing for either one of you, because there's going to come a time when there's nothing wrong with them sitting down on the couch and you're like, this, sitting down again. You're going to turn into an old grumpy man. Oh, look, you sit down and enjoy your ice cream. Like, guys, the point that I'm getting at in all this crazy rambling that I'm doing is self-assess what causes you to be triggered. Whether it be in a dependence issue that you have, whether it be in your anxiety, whether it be in your depression, guys, my depression can literally be triggered by the tone in a song. My wife and I watched, it's a show called Autopsy, where they do an autopsy of the celebrity's life. It's not a medical autopsy, but they just dissect the person's life. And we watched the autopsy of Robin Williams last night. And by the end of it, guys, I was so bummed out. And my anxiety was completely triggered because they talked about his anxiety and his depression. And they really dug pretty deep into it, where you really connected with Robin Williams and what he went through. But at the same time, my anxiety was definitely triggered. My depression was absolutely triggered. But you know what? I kind of had to look at it and go, well, yeah, it's triggered because I just watched that show. And I kind of shook it off and I was okay. But if you don't even know what your triggers are, you're never going to be able to deal with them. And you're never going to be in a healthy place or a productive place to deal with them in the long term. Most of dealing with triggers is communication. Having someone that you can talk to. That's why therapy is a billion-dollar industry, because a part of dealing with life's problems is just having somebody to talk to, and sometimes it's an outsider's perspective. But again, I think any good therapist would tell you, or counselor would tell you, or even friend who actually cares about your genuine interest is going to tell you, you can't deal with anything that you don't know is a problem. So if you don't even know what's setting you off and what the real core reason of it is, you're never going to be free from it, and you're definitely never going to learn how to battle it correctly, because it's always going to be a trigger for you, and you're going to fire off like a cannon, and you're going to deal with it how you've always dealt with it, which is, usually in the bad things. I'm talking about bad triggers still, is a recipe for disaster, and we know that because they've been learned behaviors that we've done over and over again, and we've gotten the same result. And now some of us just say, well, that's just who we are now. I'm just the one that if you do this around this person, they're gonna set off. And that's no way to live, guys. So I want to encourage you today, know what your triggers are. Sit down, figure out who you are as a person and kind of what makes you tick, good and bad. And also, once you figure out what those things are, you can start to hardwire or rewire the triggers in your life. Like I said, you can use your triggers to, I guess, start making them positive again. Like I said, now when I have a creative trigger, when something sparks in my mind that I'm like, oh, I need to do this because, or I need to write this caption. This is something I want to make my next post about. Now I write it out in a note on my phone. So now I have it. And then when the next time for me to make a post comes out, I take the picture around what I was thinking, and then bam, that makes a whole lot more sense, and it's fully me. I'm not creating a post around nothing. I'm actually creating posts around things that are me and the things that I would say and feel. And that's so much more organic, and it's so much more creative, and I'm able to just be me through it now instead of creating content just to create content. And guys, you can do the same thing. Whatever it is that makes you tick, when you get the idea that, okay, I need to do this to be better at painting, well, then you have 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Physically move your body and do something that's going to help make that happen. That's how I've started rewiring my brain. Like I said, the book is called The 5-Second Rule by Mel Robbins. I want to make sure that I'm quoting that correctly. I hope that Gary Vee doesn't start talking The 5-Second Rule, Transform Your Life by Mel Robbins. I have it on Audible. Definitely check it out. It's unreal. And with that, guys, I'm going to say bon voyage, or however you would say that. Bon voyage? I don't know. But I'm going to say goodbye. I'm going to say peace. Sayonara. It's been real. I hope that this talk of triggered doesn't trigger you to unsubscribe to this YouTube channel. And I hope that if you enjoyed it, guys, it would be the greatest if you would just right now, while you're listening, hit that thumbs up button. Guys, that's how YouTubers get discovered. That's how all the good stuff for us happens. Go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. If you found value in this, please share it with as many people as you can. We're closing in on 5,000 views. We got to get to 10,000 to be able to monetize this channel. So please, if you like this, help me get there. And also, the vlog is pretty much non-existent right now because my camera went completely kaput. It's gone. So I've been thinking about picking it back up just with the iPhone. I got to figure out some logistical stuff with that, but we may get back to that one. Guys, thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Road to Redemption podcast. I hope you know how much I love you, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.